Hello cutie quilters, my name is Christy, and in this video I'm going to talk about Angela Walters' Rainbow Mandala Free Motion Quilting Challenge. I am a huge Angela Walters fan. When I discovered her in 2020, she completely changed my quilting life. Angela's challenges are really what helped me step up my quilting game. I learned through her challenges how to freehand quilt without having to trace patterns, which I was not very good at, or just do straight lines with my walking foot. So I've participated in a few of her challenges, and the current one, as of December 2022, is this Rainbow Mandala one. And I know you can't see the whole thing in the frame, but I chose to go with the larger size and the borders. So it is 70 by 81 inches total. So the reason I wanted to do a video about it and what makes it tricky on both a long arm and also our cutie frames or other hooping frame systems is that with a mandala design, you're going to start in the center and work your way out. Now, if you're quilting on a domestic machine, sit down where you're pushing the fabric under the machine, that's really no different than any other quilt. You would just fully baste it and then start in the middle and you're good to go and work out towards the sides. When you're working with a long arm, however, even on a 3-frame long arm frame and machine, you typically start at the top and work your way down. And a lot of this is because you don't pre-baste your quilt before you start quilting. So starting in the middle can cause a few challenges for this. So a few of the ways to handle it are to fully baste your quilt, just like you would as if you were doing a sit-down domestic, pushing the fabric under the machine instead of the machine moving over the fabric. And then once it's fully basted, whether you use pins or basting spray, you can start wherever you like because you know your 3 layers are secure. So that's one option. Another option is to load your quilt in the upper left, like normal, and do a first pass over your whole quilt, stitching in the ditch, or in this case, because it's a panel, you would stitch around the color elements. You know, if this was an applique quilt or a piece quilt, that's where the seam would be or the applique would be. So you would stitch around them, and all that stitch in the ditch would stabilize your quilt so that then you could move your quilt around and quilt where you wanted to. In addition to basting the whole quilt or starting from the top and stitching in the ditch, quote unquote, because this is a panel, other options could be the way that I did this on my cutie frame. I pin basted just the top half of this quilt and then started in the middle, quilted in the middle, and then continued down and then went back up, removing the pins as I went. So that is another option. Instead of completely basting your whole quilt, you could just baste the top half and work from there. Another option I've seen done by Adam So Fun is load the quilt and then just do basting stitches all over the quilt. That is definitely a good option on a 3-rail quilting frame. I tried doing that on the king size quilt that I just did because there were certain areas that I wanted to do afterwards, because I was doing a big feather going across the whole quilt, and I wanted to hoop the quilt so that I could get as much of the feather in one go as I could, and that required hooping it differently than it was for going top to bottom. So what I initially tried to do was do large basting stitches in those areas where the feather was going to be. I found that the clamps on the Cutie frame kind of interfered with those big long stitches. They kind of got caught up and pulled, and I didn't really like that experience. However, I think by using a shorter stitch length, it could work better. You don't want to use too short because you want to be able to easily take it out. I believe I was using the basting stitch on the Unique 19 at either a medium or a long length. So maybe a short length, or even just the regular cruise mode at the highest, at the longest stitch length would work. That may be what I end up doing. So if that is the case, then I would do this just like I did the king size quilt, where I just did the top row, basted, and then put it on my frame and started going from there. Now, if you